just Uber and Apple. We don't have to get into all the numbers there, but they're just blowing out their numbers, right? From revenue, from earnings, like massive, right? There's big companies on the move here, right? Amazon, right? Picking up iRobot, right? The little Roomba, the little
Mm-hmm.
vacuums, right? Going around there, right? Paid, quite a bit of money for them, right? And other acquisitions in the past. They're looking at that long-term view.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care what the technical definition of a recession or not is. They're looking ahead, right? At what that is. You know, Entrepreneurs, right? You should be very focused on that product market fit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's your first priority, is to make sure you have that product market fit. You're going to have ups and downs, right? You always are. Uh, Warren Buffett, he loves it when the markets go down, right? At first, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "You're just saying that." He loves it because he's like, "That's just a buying opportunity for me, right? Things are on sale. That's the time I'm buying these companies for like the next 10 years or more. Like I want to be an owner of those companies, to capitalize on that. So there are tons of areas still of opportunity. And yeah, there's constantly winners and losers, right? That tech has taken a massive hit, but there's big opportunities around the corner here, right? With the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? Looks like that's going to be going through here, 700-800 billion dollars, right? A lot of new areas for that money to potentially go in. Again, right? There's going to be some winners. There's going to be some losers from that. You and I, right? We like to follow some of the tech, going green, uh,
All the EVs
just
and
the
kind of
yeah,
energy, alternative
all
energy.
that,
Yep.
right? So great. We're going to be having a lot of things to talk about here in the future, right? We really
Mm-hmm.
want to dive into those areas there. So excited about that. Um, but it's a frothy market right now, and you've just got to kind of block out some of that noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dig down into your business, take a look at it to see what do I need to focus this business on, right? In the next 3 months, right? 6 months, 12 months, right? But yeah, and I think we wanted to talk about that a little bit more here as we, get into it, as far as what are you doing with your capital plan, and what are other companies out there, doing? I've been listening to quite a few earnings reports out there. It's kind of earnings seasons right now, right, for the
Mm-hmm.
latest quarter. And yeah, companies are, a lot of them are, hey, yes, we're keeping to our strategy, but we're also looking, maybe, moving around some projects, right? Did we need to invest all that capital right away? Or still can we kind of, stick with our strategy, but maybe we're going to delay some things a little bit. Maybe we're not going to build out those offices all the way because we don't really have this whole working remote or coming in the office thing figured out
Mm-hmm.
yet. Working fine the way it is now, but you know what? We can probably delay those expenditures to a little bit later, right? Save on that cash, sit on that cash. Maybe the market does turn down, right? You've got that cash waiting. Maybe the markets pick back up, and you'll be able to deploy that cash maybe even to more efficient areas. So um, interesting listening to these earning reports and what's
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there.
I think
Yeah.
it's definitely. I think you definitely are right in terms of this is the time. It's always time to think ahead, right? And it's always time to think long term. And I think especially it is so right now. And and you may say, well, hold on, but there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of instability going on. Well, that's exactly what the rest of your competition is doing. So that is exactly where the opportunities are being created. So let's think of it in this way. There's a way to plan, right? Where does the confidence? Like I always think of that for some reason. Where does the confidence come from? Well, confidence comes with preparation, right? Be it on a personal level, right? You're more prepared for a talk. You're more prepared for a project. You're more prepared for something on a personal level if you are prepared. You're ready for that question, right? Um, but it's also the same thing goes with, say, you're running something, be it a department, be it an organization. If you're prepared, there's that confidence level, all right? There's this let's look ahead, let's look long term kind of level. And so the the way I think about it is, again, this is the time to start planning, and planning maybe in a different way. What do I mean? So let's think about it this way. Just like what Matt said right now with the capital planning, right? So that's important. So think about it where so the capital becomes more expensive, right? So if you want to go to the bank and borrow some additional capital, it's more expensive. So your margins may not be as high to where it can justify, say, borrowing at a much higher rate compared to, say, just 6 months ago, right? And yet, at the same time, you want to grow. One, there are additional risks that are built in they're kind of going your way, whether you want it or not. You may need some capital down the road. So if you may need capital very soon, but you can't borrow it because it's just too expensive. Do you see where I'm going? So you want to have a plan, you want to have a strategy, and you want to hedge those risks by preparation. That's really all. I think this is the time, this is the moment for us to do something like that. And so the opportunities are being created again when we are prepared, right? So if you have a plan, for example, again, let's think of it in terms of scenario analysis. We've got 3 scenarios. If this goes down, right? So if component A in my organization goes down, say labor becomes more expensive, right? I've got a plan. I've got a particular project, a particular a thing that I can postpone until 2023, 2024, and that's the capital that's going to be needed to fill in the hole by project A, right? The scenario could be, again, say you're installing, let's go down to some simple examples here. You're installing garage doors, right? We know just a few months back, garage doors just were not available. So say you have a business and that's all you do. You're installing garage doors. But let's think about it this way. You've got qualified employees, right? They're pretty handy, right? They could do probably more things than just install garage doors. So what if you don't need to buy any sort of additional equipment or anything. What if you have a plan, right? What if you say, if my garage doors are becoming not available, or if I don't have enough stock and I have only 2 months to kind of plan for the rest of or say a month to plan for the rest of my operations. Well, you've got that month spent in a very productive way to where a month is up and you are still going and you're still functioning, that definitely builds up confidence, right? Your employees are going to be confident that you're going to make payroll. It's going to, like your partners, they're going to see that. You are the organization that kind of stays afloat and you're fine. Everything's all right versus others just kind of going, shoot, my garage doors are like, my supplies are not there. You're like, well, our supplies are not there either, just like yours, but we have a plan. And so I think this is definitely when I think of so much kind of ambiguity going on and so much duality almost like going on out there, and we don't know what's coming up, right? So, and Matt, I apologize. We agreed not to bring this into a thing, but then we see our government official Nancy Pelosi going overseas and just starting who knows what, and I think the rest of the world is just kind of like, I think there's only one individual knows exactly why in the world that was needed, or maybe there's more. See, maybe we just don't see enough intel. Maybe Taiwan visit by Nancy Pelosi was needed, but at the same time, like nobody understood it, right? So they created an additional concern. So now we understand that we're all using these microprocessors that are very sophisticated, and there's essentially one country that figured out how to make them. In fact, they make 80% of all the world supply of them. How does that is going to affect your business? Well, just wait and see. I think so. Anyway, but if you have a plan, right? You know that if something goes south, you're prepared. But I think just like Matt, just like you said, I would kind of, I guess, give my estimate to like the external environment that's happening out there is it's really a blend of optimism and systemic risk built kind of together. We're definitely going through a season where economy is going to be shrinking, right? It has been shrinking for the last 2 quarters, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this is there will be I think a little bit more time when that's going to be the case, right? But at the same time, there's just enormous amount of optimism, and everyone's just going to vacations and buying things, and consumer expenditure is up. And so it feels weird. But again, which is great. I think U.S. economy is the most like optimistic economy out there. I think British economy, Australian economy is pretty close. They're also, by the way, increasing their interest rates right now, so they're kind of catching up. They're
Mhm.
also understanding that that's important. Hopefully, that's not going to hurt their economy because they're kind of doing it a little late. Um, but at the same time, yeah. So there's risk out there that's kind of built into the external environment, right? And so if you are a small business, if you are a mid-sized business, and you're trying to figure out what to do, I think the best advice that I would give is have a plan, be prepared, have a capital plan. Just like Matt said, I think that's a really good advice. Have a capital plan. Capital is limited, right? Capital is expensive, and you may need it soon. Have a plan, have these 5 6 projects lined up that you will postpone until such and such, and that is enough capital to cover whatever hole that's gonna just pop up. And so yeah, anyway, that's
Yeah.
literally have been kind of my thinking in the when I see there's so much ambiguity and so much kind of uncertainty, and yet at the same time, like, we somehow need to live, right? We need to wake up in the morning, we need to go get our favorite drink, pay bills, pay employees' salaries, right? Life has to go on, and this
Hmm.
systemic risk is gonna be, hedged, negated. It could be compensated with something else. That curve will kind of level off at some point. Maybe not. We'll see. But the life has to go on. But I think again, if anything, I would say is to have confidence, you got to be prepared. And so my question is to you, Matt, to me, and to everybody else who's listening to us right now is, what type of preparations are you doing right now in order to weather the storm that's coming tomorrow, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
but anyway,
maybe Anton, you are moving that business forward. You're like, hey, there's an opportunity here. I'm going to do some more hiring, but that could turn it quickly, and you're probably going to need to turn quickly as well too, right? And that might mean that you lay those same individuals off, right? That you just hired. You don't want to do that, right? Like that's in nobody's interest to do that. But what were the numbers showing this week too? It's also record unemployment or in full employment, right? That's
yeah,
out there,
employment,
right?
yeah.
We're back to pre-COVID levels here, right? For record lows. So what was it? 500, yeah, 500 over 500,000 jobs, right? Were added here in the last announcements here. So
Mm-hmm.
there's still a lot of strength kind of underlying the economy there.
Yep.
I think May was showing 900,000 federal state jobs that were open, right? New York City has gone from typically you might have 3% or so of the jobs open, I think, at any one time. And they were up to something like, yeah, overall, like over 7.5%, right? So, but for that many jobs, right? Like that's a pretty big deal to have that many openings out there. So, um, yeah, it's like if you can move forward boldly, do it. Great, fine. You and I offline, right? We were talking about a lot of kind of de-risking, right? That can be done out there as well too, right? As you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at things, and it's like you still want to grow, but how can you take out some of that risk maybe that's built in? So maybe you had that one supplier like you were talking about for garage doors. Well, do you have two suppliers, right? Or three, preferably? Right? Or are you just going to rely on, hey, if they just charge you whatever, are you just going to take it? Or do you have the opportunity to swap out, right? Maybe you have some
Mm-hmm.
components of that door, right, that you could source from somewhere else. Maybe you can refurbish garage doors that are out there, right? Or repaint or to keep those employees, right, put to work there. Um, yeah, there's a lot you can still do, right, to be bold, to grow your business, right, to not completely go in defensive mode here, because there is still opportunity out there to keep it moving forward here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Well, and guys, I think this is a good moment to kind of remind all of us that why we're doing this, right? So Matt and I would kind
yeah,
of have these like existential conversations in terms of what's the value, right? Why should we kind of pop in tonight on this kind of late night chit chat, and the answer that I kind of find myself thinking about is growth, right? So, like for example, I'll be honest, these live streams are not something that that kind of comes natural to me, right? It's not something that's like I'm used to doing. It does take a little bit of a kind of technical fiddling here, like Matt already mentioned. But at the same time, like I literally think of like these conversation tonight and this kind of this exercise that we're doing tonight in terms of thinking the risks and opportunities and things like that. It's like an evening jog or morning jog, right? You go out there to just kind of stay in tone, right? Your muscles are toned for some sort of a rapid exercise that will be needed tomorrow. So it's good to grow. It's good to grow kind of steadily, not in sprints, but like we're running a marathon, right? So it is important to what kind of people you're connected, right? And this is kind of like essentially why we decided to just kind of start doing these live streams, right? And start set up a website, and we're about to tell you a little bit more about our group sessions. In group sessions, we're going to be answering questions, and other folks are going to be coming in as mentors, and they're going to say, well, listen, I don't know much about this, but I do know a little bit about that particular subject. So ask me that kind of question. And so literally, I mean, towards the end of the day, I mean, that is the only thing I really think of that's truly important is how well and who are you connected with, right? Because that makes it or breaks it when it comes to your life, so to say. So again, let's remind ourselves that growth is very, very important, and growth mindset is very important, which we probably should devote like a separate conversation to the growth mindset part, because it is very much misunderstood. There's a lot of kind of, yeah, we know that term now, right? But at the same time, are you exercising it? Because it's uncomfortable. Like it's like playing chess. Like Kasparov, right? Who the world champion in chess? He said chess is like is a torture for your mind. He said, and yet we call it like, oh, somebody's playing chess well, like we call that person kind of like strategic, right? That person is intellectual. So are you going through these motions like Matt and I do tonight? Are you going through these motions to where it's a morning jog for you? It's a morning run. It's a morning, let me lift up a couple of weights. Not to go crazy and build some sort of unbelievable muscles out there, but like just to stay in tune, in tone, right? So growth, again, for our community, the way I see growth is what we're doing tonight, right? Discussing these kind of like subjects. And am I crazy? When I look out there, I don't understand everything. What about you guys? And somehow collectively we arrive to a certain conclusion, one, right? But at the same time, so let's break down the growth into like three components, right? So one is you, and it's important to optimize yourself before you kind of diving into your craft. Let's just call it craft for the sake of kind of including everybody here. Because if you're running for an elective position, well, that's your craft, right? That's not necessarily business, but that's the principles that we're going to be discussing here in the future, applicable exactly the way they're applicable in business. Growth, you're collecting donations versus money through a POS. Well, who cares? You're the same. You attract your the people who donate to your organization. Same exact way you donate your customers, right? You attract customers, and so that's you, right? Your organization, your craft, and then your community. So as we kind of go through these motions and through these growth exercises every time, think of that. Like think of how much are you optimized, because you got to start there. If you don't put oxygen mask on you, there's no point in kind of going into your craft. You're exhausted. You're tired. You just woke up and you're tired. What's the point of you going to work? I mean, go. I mean, you should go. No, I'm not saying anything, but you should go. But you're probably not being productive and all. And if you're going through the motions in your organizations and you're growing, but at the same time, you're not benefiting a community. You're not benefiting a human being at the end of the day. First, I don't know how you make money, because any product or service solves problems, right? So you got to be benefiting somebody, and it's a good idea to be in touch with those individuals, because they are the ones who pay money for your product or service. So essentially, you become connected, inevitably connected, and hopefully intentionally versus unintentionally. You're intentionally connected to a group of individuals that you benefit, and all of a sudden, maybe just maybe that's where the meaning of life kind of comes from, that third component, right? So, but let's talk about. So let me kind of circle back a little bit this conversation. It's a conversation, right? So we've got a bunch of notes, but let's go with like. I really want to talk about it because the beginning of this whole interaction here, the beginning of our setting up our live stream frustrated me, like frustrated the heck out of me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the thing that I wanted to maybe discuss here towards the end of our talk here is value. We started setting things up here, and we're trying to use this platform and this platform for live streaming, and then we were realizing there's too many cables, there's too many buttons, there's too many things, and then something in the midst of all that doesn't work, right? So we spent 30 minutes or something trying to figure things out. And then I'm all of a sudden realizing, hold on, we're switching to this new platform. Does it bring value? Because it wastes our time. And all of a sudden, very quickly, I start connecting time, right? Value, like, Matt, okay, what's your thoughts? Value, when you think of value, what can we point to when we say value? What is it? Time is one of them, right? We kind of discovered that today, right? What else is value? Like when you go and buy something out there or use certain service, right? You're like, oh, I'm getting value out of this, right? What is it for you personally? Like when you say this is a good value or this is better value versus like B is better value than A. Like what's in it for you?
I think they say time is money, right? And I think if you let's say speak to someone that's been wiser and up there in the years, right? They'll say that's just the one thing you can't replace, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
that time. I think there's a lot of financial theories, right, on that kind of time, money relationship, right? There
Yeah.
seems to be kind of that connection, correlation, you know,
Yeah.
to that. So, uh,
And the reason
yeah,
I'm
it's a
asking,
good.
the reason I'm asking is again, you're all involved in value production, and I don't even care if you're an entrepreneur right now, right, or if you're just an employee at an organization. If you are a human being, you must be providing some sort of value somewhere, right? And I think I just think it's again a kind of growth mentality here for a second, trying to be at least one. What is value? Like, how do I provide value, right? So if I do a job that then needs to be redone by somebody else, how much of a value is in what I've done here, right? When it needs to be like rework from a lean perspective, that's waste, right? When you wait for something, that's waste, right? So if you are an individual or an organization, right, that creates value out there, and again, this whole kind of dovetailing into the first part of our conversation. So the markets are shifting, the environment is shifting. Can we use this strategic thinking towards, okay, capital planning is one, right? But what about value planning? What if you understand that the rest of the competition is going through exactly what you're going through, but somehow, and they're closing their doors. Like in many cases, and I'll give you an example. So I'm just kind of blinking on it right now. But like, there was a good example here locally. I just had a conversation with somebody, and they were like, "Yeah, we're not closing our doors. We're snagging the market." And I forgot who. I'm literally kind of blanking on this. It was a guy, and I'll remember it right now. But like literally, the guy was like, "Yeah, no, we're short on cash, and we're short on this, and we're trying to hard to find good employees, but no, we're growing the heck out of this because this is our opportunity." And so value planning, right? So if something is complex, like what we've been feeling today, are you creating a solution that is more simple, right? To your consumers, right? Are you talking to your
Mhm.
consumers? Like if you're like Matt was saying, right? So if you're in defense mode right now, you're not on offense mode, right? I mean, apparently, and that makes you not maybe value plan down the road, right? You become very like, let me protect what I've got. What if it's too late? What if we don't need to protect what we've got? What if sprinting forward is kind of the only way to hedge risks, right? I mean, think
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm.
And so how do we plan for it, right? I always talk about talking to your consumer. That is one underutilized like crazy activity that small businesses, department heads, craft makers are not doing. They're not talking to their user, to their consumer, and we should. When we do, we're gonna hear a lot of kind of criticism in terms of, well, this is not done well. This could be done better. And a growth mindset person will say, well, maybe this is time to do it, and I'll figure out how. Right. But yeah, so conversation about value, I think it's very important because again, we literally just went through a moment here to where like, is this value? Like, can I? And here's the thing, like we're using. So again, if you guys know a little bit of live streaming and all this, we've been using like a paid program. Now we're like, oh, let's go use OBS because it works with Mac, PC, and it's free. Man, it is. I know I've done OBS before and all, but like it is painful once you start setting things up when somebody's calling in and things like that. Something about the feedback, audio, person doesn't hear themselves, doesn't hear me. Like, I mean, we spent 30 minutes of precious time that we could be spending with our families, with something meaningful, reading a book, educating ourselves. We spend it on buttons and cables. Like, if you create a solution
Yeah.
that eliminates buttons and values, you're golden. And maybe this is time to do it. So we're
Mhm.
literally gonna switch to a paid platform. That's been kind of our mutual decision here, because it's just
This is getting serious for Anton right here. Yeah. No, I, I think that's stepping back to this kind of growth mindset, right? And why we're doing this in the first place is you need a community of other people around you, right? That is focused on growth, that have been through
yeah.
the challenges already as well too, that can kind of help you go around that. Because when that challenge is right in front of your face, right, you can't really see around it, right? But when you have that community around you, they're like over here, right? Like over here, come over here. We'll show you how that's done, right? Not a problem, right? We'll help you move through this. So I it seems like Anton, like a lot of our friends that we grew up with, and I think the communities, and you and I grew up in very different communities on completely different sides of the world,
Continents, yeah.
right? But there was some elements to it, right, that were maybe a little bit more conservative or imprudent, and I think that's just human nature as well too, right? To be kind of on the defense like that. But like you're saying, if you don't put some of this to use, let's just say it's cash, right? You put that cash under your mattress and you just protect it and you save it. Inflation's going up, right? It's becoming
Mm-hmm.
worth less and less, right? So it's like you got to put it to work, right? Whether it's whatever asset that is, if it's cash, if it's your mind, right? To keep it, keep your mind exercising, keep it moving, keep it advancing, right? To be able to grow that wealth. But and some of this may have stemmed from grandparents and great grandparents, right? That came from the Great Depression. And people take on a tremendous amount of kind of their own practice on what they learned from their parents and growing up in
Mm-hmm.
relationship to money, right? And avoiding risk or taking on risk,
Mm-hmm.
right? They see their parents moving forward, giving presentations, just full of confidence. They're going to respond to that. If their parent is constantly in fear of people taking away their money or their livelihood, right? The child's probably going to absorb that. And likewise with adults as well too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're going to learn from others some of those habits. So let's surround ourselves, right, with those that are in that growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
They're still financially responsible, of course, right? But they're looking at risk in different ways, right? What may be risky to one person, if they know all the facts around that, they really truly know their downside, might not be that risky to another person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so what if I lose my job? I'm just going to go get another one, right? Versus other companies that I've been for in the past for many years was, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I've always just done this one job.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different mindset, right?
Yeah.
Totally
I,
different risk for those individuals too. But yeah,
yeah,
it,
definitely.
it
I
really
a
does
hundred
involve some
percent.
self examination.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with you in terms of we got to be connecting with other people because it's a different perspective. I mean, the worst thing that you can do is to be limited to your own perspective. No, I think the worst it can be is for you to fully enjoy your own perspective, because that's the worst. We all have our own perspective, right? And we're all limited to that one because that's the only one we have. But I think the worst is for us to start thinking that we're right, and start thinking that this is the way to go, and start thinking this is the only way to go. If you probably know these individuals out there that they think that way, and they will again, I call it wake up in the morning, look in yourself in the mirror and say, I have no problems, I'm great. They're painful to be around, right? And growth mindset individual wakes up in the morning, looks at himself in the mirror with the same pride, with the same kind of confidence, and says, I've got a bunch of problems and I'll be working on them today. Same thing, same attitude, same positivity, but it's around a different way of resolving those issues, right? So in one instance, I mean, you gotta spend a lot of time understanding you've got a problem, and only then, so 50%, right, of the solution is the understanding that you've got a problem. The second 50%, you haven't even started on it. Well, at least the growth mindset person started already. Started on the second part, right? And that's 50. The growth mindset individual is 50% ahead of static mindset individual. But yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And literally, I mean, this is literally the reason behind what we're doing here and this whole growth clinic. We're trying to create community. Do we have a large community so far? No, it's not. It's been limited to one geography so far, right? We took a small break here between, beginning of the year and right now to kind of reshuffle things around and all. And so we only now kind of started doing this whole thing. So do we have a large community out there? No. But are there a lot of people out there that we eagerly would love to connect with? Yes. And that's kind of like part of why we do this. We literally have nothing to sell, and we have anything to gain here. So keep in mind that, very, very often we're only limited to our own perspective. Even if you have an organization, you've got a team of people. If they've been together a lot, they kind of exchanged ideas enough to where it's kind of like it's an environment with one idea just kind of bouncing back and forth between them, right? You definitely want to break it up. When Steve Jobs was asked whether they have conflicts in Apple, he was like, yes, we do. We have wonderful conflicts. Conflict is wonderful. So go stir up some conflicts. Maybe that's advice.
Yeah, right.
And ask tough questions.
That's the game, though, right? That's the game. It's like, can you imagine playing football, but you're not allowed to make contact with each other at all? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's not fun for anybody, right? But if you've got the right pads on, right, you got the right equipment, then it's a heck of a good time, right, to go out there and play that. Yeah.
And speaking about Kasparov, we've talked a little bit about him earlier today. He said, in order to learn the game of chess well, you want to play strong players. You don't learn when you play with weak players. You win. So maybe the time of winning, like economy's up, everything is great, stock market is up. You put any sort of money in any sort of cryptocurrency and you make a bajillion of dollars, is over. And all of a sudden we're in this kind of situation to where, okay, this is interesting. This is a maze. This becomes, there's the challenges kind of coming from different directions, and I will be smart to figure it out versus I'm a victim of circumstances. Oh my goodness, let's all sit down and cry, together. So yeah.
Hey, Anton, do you think you can figure people out pretty quickly if they have growth mindset or not? Or
Well,
do you
see, it's
think it's a
interesting.
little bit more subtle?
Carol Dweck, in her book, and I think I agree with that. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but she's saying that growth mindset has to do with a particular aspect of your life. For example, money-wise, you can be smart. But at the same time, when it comes to, say, relationships, you're not, right? Or vice versa, things like that. When I say you, I
Interesting.
don't mean Matt, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, and so it's almost like I think if you develop a holistic growth mindset, well, first it's like push-ups. I think growth mindset is like push-ups. If you haven't done it in a while, you start doing it, it hurts. You don't want to do it down the road. So I think it's this consistent, comfortable pace comfortable rhythm of growing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me challenge myself today a little bit, right? Our friend Nico, who's going to be probably here on our stream down the road, the guy just, I mean, he lives and preaches about being uncomfortable. He's like, I want to be uncomfortable. I just want to be uncomfortable. I'm like, why? For the sake of being uncomfortable. It's like a push up to him. It's like he's exercising his body, he's exercising his mind at the same time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be uncomfortable.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
so this is great to live in the times that we live right now, because we all feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? We read the news. Pelosi went to Taiwan. Shoot, who is comfortable with that, right? Sorry, don't mean to pick on that particular thing, but we love our government leaders and things like that. So nothing against
Sure.
either of the parties here. So, but yeah. So anyway, hopefully you think of value. Hopefully you think of capital planning. Hopefully you look at this environment and you think Amazon is picking up some businesses out there, right? Let me figure out my own Amazon game in this external environment as today. And just like Matt said, hopefully you connect with people, because that's extra important. And at the end of the day, maybe that's the only thing that's truly important, right?
Yeah. 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 You were talking about kind of that time value relationship too. And it's, it's something frustrating to us because, like, man, when we go in on some stuff, sometimes we go all in and we like to 360 whatever problem we're working on,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be able to explain and figure out which one is the best one, right? I think you and I both hate picking, like, if there's three things out there and we pick the second best one and then we find out about it 2 weeks later or a month
Mm-hmm.
later, like it ticks us off, right? It's agitation because it's like, why didn't we do more research? Why didn't we figure it out, right? And there's a time and place for that too, right? But there's a time and place too. You see it in other people where they see something that's a solution, they go ahead, they buy it, they pick it. If it doesn't work out, right, then they drop it, and
Mm-hmm.
they've learned from kind of jumping in on it, and it's all right. I'll go ahead, I'll resell that. I'll go ahead, switch software, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
out there. But I know I've gotten to be more of what, and especially with technology, what's that best in class that's out there? Where is that momentum behind? And be willing to pay a little bit more of a premium for that, right? Because that is what's great about technology is like there is so many more solutions that are out there, right? That we're not unique to a lot of those problems, those challenges, and they're bundling it together, right, into this one nice little solution.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not be the most robust, dynamic, whatever software or package out there, but man, it's really reliable. It seems like they keep adding more features to it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, Apple's not really known for being first to market, right, on
Yeah.
anything. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is not known to being first to market,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of times, even people accuse them of, of stealing these ideas, right, from other
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
platforms. But usually, when they're ready to move, right, they make it easy, right, for the consumer in this nice bundled package, and they know that there's going to be these upgrades in the future, right? That they're going to be able to upgrade to, right? That's not going to, in the back in the old days, right? When you had to take your old phone and you had to like move the numbers out to your other phone, like that wasn't that long of ago, right? When
Yeah. Yeah.
that was happening. It's gotten easier. So, another company is like with Microsoft, right? Microsoft 365 and the solution, right, that they offer to the business. There's other great ones out there. I'm not knocking the others, but it's just I start to get comfortable with certain technologies and features, and I can see them being very robust, and I can see where some people can argue that, hey, isn't that expensive? Isn't that a premium? And it's like, when you add up the pieces, I don't necessarily really think that. I'm open, right, to learning more, but I don't always necessarily want the fastest, newest technology necessarily, right? I want something that's maybe reliable, that's going to be there a year, 2 years, 3 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
and is going to get the job done there. So I'm pretty excited to explore some of that technology, right, with with some of our guests that are coming on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
some of the dynamic people that are doing some great things. Nico, you talked about, right? over in India. What a marketing beast over there, just cranking out content, having the time of his life. Right, really uplifting people as well too. Right, he's one of the most unselfish guys you'll meet as well too. Um, but yeah, a lot of the others here, a lot of them that are here in Chattanooga, but are highly relevant to what people are doing around the world, right?
Hmm.
That have great technologies out there that are putting out good product. Excited to bring them on the show, right? To make it a little bit more robust, a little bit more dynamic. I know you and I have been digging deep right on the back end, right, to pull some of these things off, but it's like, all right, now it's time to have a little bit more fun here, bring these guests in, be able to joke around a little bit more here.
Hmm.
Yeah, excited for it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So again, our job, guys, is to make this community a bit more vibrant, a bit larger, a bit wider, so to say, a little deeper, just like Matt mentioned. But yeah, and so just stay in touch. It's important to again be running things by others, and this is what we kind of want to create this environment for. We want to, for you guys to pop in here at some point and get some feedback, right? Matt had an idea of a growth hotline, right? So pop in here for say one of the live streams and ask your question, right? And so and we may have a couple of folks here on a couple of additional folks here on the call where we can kind of address it from again your business, your people perspective. And so we can all kind of figure out how to grow. So because it is important, because it's important. You don't want
Yeah,
to get
Antonio, you said
dull.
sometimes those ideas, right? They need to go through this kind of validation, this pressure testing, right? To see,
Mm-hmm.
you know, everybody has ideas, right? To me, ideas are worthless. There's so many ideas, so many opportunities out there, but are you close, right, on pulling the trigger on something,
Mm-hmm.
right? You just want to run that by kind of the community, right, and get their
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on
Mm-hmm.
it, get the weigh in. Sometimes you get focused on a project and you're so blindsided, right? You're so fixed on going. You don't see these other things coming in from the side, or why that might not. Maybe that's relevant now, but maybe it's not relevant in a year or two. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the sort of discussions that we want to have on here, right? To bring in
Mm-hmm.
some of those folks, answer those questions. Um, you might not have the family around you or the friends that are interested in these things, right? That's what was fun about going to college, transferring to a college, and meeting all these people that were interested in the same things that I was interested in, to run that by them. And hey, I've got a lot of great friends that I grew up with, love hanging out with them, but not, there's just different focuses, right, with different friends. And it's like, it's so relieving, right, to be able to come to a community where people kind of understand you, your problems, your
Mm-hmm.
challenges, what you're working towards, right, and just to be able to bounce around those ideas. And that's what we're all about, right? We are local, like you said, in Chattanooga, still going to be doing local events is there too, but
Mm-hmm.
also really opening this up here, right, to a wider audience. So maybe to wrap it up there, Anton, we should kind of recap, right, the kind of what we want people to do, right? You've got the website, right? Growth.clinic, right? That you can
Mm-hmm.
go out, get signed up for the emails, right? You said you just sent out a big batch of emails on what's coming up here, but
Mm-hmm.
get on the list here. We'll get those out to you, right? We've got the channels out there, right? With Growth Clinic, right? On YouTube. You can find us here at Facebook. Facebook, we're just kind of hanging out here as well too, right? Getting things tested out. Um, You've got the flyers behind you. You've got the calendars out there, right, that are on the website.
Mm-hmm.
We got events coming up, not just our regular every other type of weeks here, but we'll probably do some other additional ones here. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And next time, Matt,
lot
are
to
we
gear
are
up
we ready
for.
for another guest next time? Let's bring a person or two,
I think we're gonna be.
and let's just have a
I think we're gonna
conversation.
be.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
So
do it.
we're gonna promise you guys we'll figure out the technical part, and if it costs something, we'll just swallow it. But we want to make sure that we pay enough attention to things that are truly important. So, but yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, I know
All
we've
right.
been live here for quite some time now, guys, and so again, this was an evening jog. This was another way to remind yourself that we got to be growing, we got to be exercising, we gotta We gotta go through the motion, and at the end of the day, growth is important because again, you will be happy as a result. Your organization will be happy, um, and I think there's some sort of sense of fulfillment that's coming from this, right? We all have a mission in life, right? And hopefully that growth kind of gets you to the point of maybe fuller realization of what it truly means. And step one, right, and step two, just kind of getting it done, because this world, I think it definitely needs people with a mission, right? People that are solving problems, because there's too many of them, right? And it looks like humanity is really good at creating problems. That's what we first trashed our climate. We now try to figure out how to fix it, right? There's definitely a better way, so to say. So hopefully you are a person of a mission. Hopefully your organization has a mission. Hopefully you are there solving a problem with your product or service. And so if that's the case, stay tuned for more. Matt and I are going to be here. We're going to bring more people next time. We're about to sign up for newsletter. We're going to send out a reminder about our group sessions. We haven't done those in a while. Those have been highly, asked for to kind of bring back. And so we are not fully ready right now, but we're probably in a couple of weeks, we're going to be ready. We'll assemble one of them, announce it, and we'll just go from there. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add, Matt?
No, I think that's it, Anton. I think you've nailed it there. And yeah, just thanks for everybody for joining in there. And yeah, really excited to hear about some of the things that are coming up. If you know people, right, particularly that you find very interesting, right, or and are into this sort of things, let us know about it, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to be sharing these things with you, right, on streaming and how do you do that and why should you do that? What's going to be the challenges with that, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to be the upside from that as well too, right? So um, that's what we like to do is turn that right around and share it back out. So
Yeah, yeah. Well,
yeah,
and maybe I
just
was thinking maybe it's time for us to also get a little bit more technical down the road, right? We haven't
yeah,
done this in a while. We've
yeah,
like today's conversation was kind of a little bit more conceptual. Last one, but
yeah,
connectedness was a little more conceptual. So maybe it's time to kind of also dive a little deeper into and say, yeah,
yeah,
how do you do something? Because again, like
yeah,
we were preaching here, right? So let's solve problems of other people. So we know a little bit about your problems just by nature of what I do full time. What we have been doing here with this community. So Matt is also kind of going, dealing with his set of problems that he's solving with his work. But at the same time, let us know what would you like for us to discuss, and because we may find a mentor who is really good at that particular piece. And all of a sudden we're connecting two pieces together, and what can be better than this, right? So, well, anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Matt, thanks a lot for a meaningful conversation tonight, and thanks for the evening jog. It's always better to do it together than to do it by yourself. So it definitely takes
yep,
community.
yep.
So
Got to show up to the gym, right? Yep.
that's right. That's right. Well, thank you guys again. So have a good night. Be safe. Stay tuned for more, and we will be in touch. We will go from there.
All right.
See ya. Okay. I think